Good morning, fifth grade. This assignment is going to be for both cohort A and cohort B. We are going to be creating a virtual radial design. So what you are going to need today is Autodesk Sketchbook. If you do not have that app, you are going to go into self-service, and it is on here alphabetically. So if you don't have it, Autodesk Sketchbook should be at the top, and the icon is this orange square with a little pencil on it. If you already do have that, that's great. You're going to open that up and you will see that I was working on a different project and that my digital canvas is a rectangle. Now, if you remember by working with me in class, your digital canvas is going to need to be a square in order to do a radial design. So I need to come up with a new canvas. So I'm going to push the little button. It's a rectangle. It has 3 dots and 3 lines. It's at the very top. I'm going to click on that and it will come up and I'm going to click New Sketch. Now, right now, you can see that it's still giving me a rectangle, and there's this little link, and mine is already broken. Right now, I'm going to click it, and now it's back together. If that little link near the bottom next to the W and the H and the numbers, if that link is together, when you try to change your canvas into a square, I normally do 2000, you can change the width, but you can't change the height. And if you try to change the height, you can't change the width. And that is because it is linked together. So what you need to do is click that little link icon so that it is broken. And then I go to width. And again, I normally do 2000 by 2000. I click done. And then I click the button create. And then I'm just going to discard my current sketch. If you were working on something and you want to save it, then you can click save. I'm going to click discard. I don't need this. Discard. And it comes up with a square like this. Now, I like to see my entire canvas, so I'm going to drag my fingers together into a pinch so that I can see the entire thing. So again, I'm taking my 2 fingers and I'm bringing them close together so that I can come out from my canvas and I can see the entire thing. Okay? If you have never used Autodesk Sketchbook before, that is completely fine. You can take some time today to mess around with all of the different tools that are on this side. You can see I'm moving it right now. There's a pencil tool, a marker tool, a pen. There's some paintbrushes, some erasers, okay? I'm not going to go through all of those things with you right now, but if you have never used it before, again, I would take some time before you start this project to go through and mess around and decide what materials and what tools you like to use. I normally keep mine on this little pen, and if I click on it, I can change the size of my pen, so that's going to change the thickness. And I can also change the opacity. The opacity is going to be like how see-through the material is. I normally like to keep my opacity at 100% when I'm doing projects like this. But maybe if you want to add color later, you might want to change the opacity. It's up to you, okay? To do a radial design, up at this top bar, you'll see there's a paint bucket, a ruler, there's some other things up here. You are going to click on the icon that has like a dashed line going up and down, and then this kind of wavy thing on each side of the dashed line, and you're going to click on that. This is going to give you symmetry. Now, if you only have the vertical symmetry selected, that means it's up and down, and you draw on one side, anything that you draw on this side is going to happen to the other side. Okay, I'm going to click the back arrow and get rid of that. Now, if you only have the horizontal symmetry selected, you are going to have symmetry up and down instead of side to side. So anything that you draw on the top is going to be drawn on the bottom. But again, that is not radial design. That is just symmetry over the horizontal line or symmetry over the vertical line. So again, I'm going to push my back arrow and get rid of that. So instead of clicking on the first icon, which is going to show you symmetry up and down, so vertically, and you don't want to click on the second one that is going to show you symmetry side to side, if you click on both, it seems like it will work, and that was a mistake that I made when I first started doing this project, but it actually still does reflections and flips. It does not do rotations. So what you are going to want to do is click on the third icon, which looks something like this, and then it will let you do a bunch of different sections. You can go all the way up to 16 and down to 2, but what you are going to want to do is go to 4. Now, you might notice that if you are working, this center might move around on you, which can get very frustrating because you do want it to be right in the center of your paper. So what you are going to do is click on the little lock. Right now, the lock at that top toolbar is open. When I touch it, it closes and it says lock symmetry lines. Now you'll notice that little circle in the middle is gone and I can no longer move around my symmetry lines. From here, you can totally experiment with any of the tools you would like to use for this project. Personally, I like to use the fourth one down, so I'm going to click on the pen tool. You can make it thick, you can make it thin. We talked about that a little bit earlier. But again, you might want to go through all of these tools and really experiment and see what you would like to use. You can also, again, change the color on the side. So maybe I want my lines to be blue. And I can start in one quadrant, and you will notice whenever I do in quadrant 1, it rotates to quadrant 2, which rotates to quadrant 3, which rotates to quadrant 4. So that's why you want to click on the third icon. The third icon is going to give you a rotation. It is not going to give you a flip, and it is not going to give you a reflection. Now, the greatest part about this tool is you only have to decorate one quadrant. So sometimes what I like to do to get a lot of detail in there is zoom in by spreading my fingers apart and just decorating and designing one quadrant because it will automatically rotate to 2, 3, and 4. And this way you can get a lot more of those details that you might want in your design. So I'm just going to continue and do something kind of simple just for the sake of time. And you will notice after I do this and pull out, so I'm pinching my fingers together, you'll see that it is now rotated in the rest of the quadrants. So going in and really zooming in, let's change the color, let's do it to pink. If you want to go in with super small details, you can do that, and then as I pinch my fingers together, you will notice that it does that in every single quadrant. So this is a really awesome tool to start thinking about how you want your radial design to look and how you want things to rotate around your canvas. So again, you can really experiment with this, and if you feel like you want to do more than one, maybe you don't like the first one that you made, you can continue to make them until you like what you have come up with. Another tool you might want to use is going to be the paint bucket tool. But to use the paint bucket tool, you need to make sure that all of the objects or shapes or whatever you're trying to fill in with that color are completely closed. So I'm going to zoom in here and I'm just going to add a couple details so I can show you how to use that. And I'm going to leave one open a little bit on purpose. So you'll see that that one's a little bit open and the rest of them, I think, are closed. The paint bucket tool is pretty picky, so you are going to want to make sure all of those objects are completely closed. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the paint bucket tool, which is at the top bar, and it looks just like a paint bucket. The thing about the paint bucket tool is it is not going to do it radially. So you really need to think about what you're filling in and where you're filling it in, and I'll discuss that in just a moment. I'm going to click on the first icon, which is solid fill, and then I'm going to click on the little circle with my color in it, and I'm going to change the color. Let's go to orange. When I zoom in, I can then fill that shape with orange. However, you will notice it is not doing it to quadrant 2, to quadrant 3, or to quadrant 4. So if you are going to use the paint bucket tool, you want to try to make each quadrant the same. So you have to think to yourself, okay, the first circle is orange, then you move to quadrant 2, the first circle needs to be orange. Move to quadrant 3, the first circle needs to be orange. Move to quadrant 4, the first circle needs to be orange. And I'm moving around my screen using 2 fingers so that I'm not accidentally coloring or drawing on my screen. Now, let's notice what happens. Let's change the color here so we can really see. Let's go to green. When I try to fill this one in, it is going to fill in my entire background. And that is because that circle that I just tried to fill in is not completely closed. There is a little bit of an opening. So the app doesn't know what you are trying to fill. So you need to go in and make sure all of your objects are closed. But if you want a background color, you're more than welcome to keep the objects open and color in the background using this tool. But I'm going to once again go in, I'm going to do the third one green, third one green, third one green, and third one green. So that's how you would use the paint bucket tool. And again, you might need to experiment with a little bit with it before you get the hang of it. When you have finished your radial design and you have added all the details you want to add, added all the colors you want to add, you can do one of two things. You can either push the power button and the home button and screenshot your project, or you can click this first button at the top that has the 3 dots and the 3 lines. Click this, click share, and then do save image, and it will save to your photo library. From there, you need to go into Schoology. You need to go into the folder that says September 11th, day 7. You need to go into the folder that is the Miss Hout Turn-In folder, and you need to upload your media to that folder. I am going to be checking all of these folders throughout the day, and I'm super excited to see what you all create. Everyone, awesome job this week, and have a good weekend.